Everyone, welcome to Follow Everton. This is Ryan, the channel host, and today I've got Dan. Hi, Dan.
Bear with me. How we doing? You all right?
Good, thank you. We're about to talk about Everton versus West Ham United. The Toffees are playing West Ham on Saturday in the 3 o'clock kickoff at the London Stadium. I want to hear from everyone listening. What do you think about this fixture? Team news will be coming up, as well as talking about West Ham. We'll also touch on transfers, etc., etc. First and foremost, Dan, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Having a little microphone problem, but I'll sort it out in a couple of seconds.
That's fine, don't worry. So, obviously, this is what they're calling this the battle of the worst team in the league. That's what it's been dubbed as. Everton in 19th, West Ham also struggling right at the bottom of the league. And yeah, I mean, West Ham have made transfer signing of Danny Ings today, a player that always scores against Everton. And it shows for me that they're a side that are desperate to get out of this situation. They know that they're not meant to be at the bottom with the quality of players that they've got, and they're fighting. Whereas Everton, it's like a circus around the club at the moment. We've brought in no signings, and the two sides are facing each other in a desperate situation. Dan, this is a massive game, isn't it? You can't lose this game. I think there's a bare minimum. You've got to at least get a point. And I think obviously 3 points would be huge because it's another relegation rival. But given how we fared against Wolves, given how we did against Southampton and other teams also at the bottom, you'd say you'd probably be happy with a point at this stage. I mean, I say this out of desperation, really. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Carry on. I'm going to have to come back to you. I can't hear. My speaker's gone completely wrong, but I'll be back in 2 seconds. I'll sort it out. 2 seconds.
Okay. Just going to take
Just carry on, and I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Just going to take Dan out. Okay, so we're just going to bring Dan back in a moment. He's just working on his microphone. It's not going to be a huge, long preview, but I want to know what people think. Obviously, the mood around Everton at the moment is a difficult one. I personally am feeling deflated. I'm finding it difficult to get myself up for the match. And even to listen to the Frank Lampard press conference, I found difficult. Just because it is draining, and there are no answers at the moment. There's no solutions. So in terms of injury news, I think it's pretty much the same. I'm going to get Dan to confirm this, but James Garner and Andros Townsend are back in light training. They won't be ready in time for this fixture. I'm going to actually, just because I was relying on Dan for some of this, I'm just going to bear with me for 1 second. That'd be great. Sorry about that, guys. So I need Dan to come back in because he's in charge of team news and stuff. And yeah, we can't really do a match preview without having all of this stuff. But the reality is it's pretty much the same squad that's available. I am kind of at the point now where Everton are pushing the fans away. And to bring us back in, I think there's got to be a little bit of a lift, and I think the only way that can happen now has got to be in the market. It's got to be in the transfer market now. Looking around in the window, Aston Villa obviously let Danny Ings go to West Ham, but other teams, Nottingham Forest, Wolverhampton Wanderers. My phone is literally flashing up every second. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to mute this. I'm really sorry. This has been a complete shambles because I didn't even have that mic unmuted. Can anyone hear me now? We're going to start this again. I'm very sorry. It was coming up with notifications on the phone it was coming up with notifications on the phone while I'm trying to concentrate and actually get my point across. But the point I'm trying to make is that Wolverhampton Wanderers, Leicester City, Nottingham Forest, all of these teams have been active in the market. Bournemouth, and we're in for all these names, the same names as these players, but they're going elsewhere. They're not attracted to Everton. The circus around the club at the moment is putting players off. That's on and off the pitch. And it's hard to blame them, really, if I'm honest with you. And we're now linked with the likes of Moussa Dembele, who I think would massively improve us, despite the fact that Moussa Dembele and the other guy we've been linked with, the Atalanta striker, Zapata, both of them are available, but neither of them have really hit the ground running this season. I think both of them only scored 1 or 2 goals each. Dan, when you're ready, give me a thumbs up, please, because we need you. We'll talk more about transfers in a minute, but yeah, we need something to lift the mood, and I think it's got to be a transfer. I don't want to say too much with it's really important he's on. Dan, are you there? Dan's not there. Okay, we'll try and get Dan in a moment. But yeah, so he's gone again. This is a nightmare. I'm very sorry about this, guys. I'm just going to take 30 seconds. I can only apologise about the preview so far. I'm having some technical difficulties, and I am desperately trying to get Dan in because I had loads of questions for Dan that I have to ask him, and he's not here. Oh, he's here!
Yeah, I'm back now. I think it's working. I haven't got long, but nightmare. Sorry about that, people on the channel.
The whole match preview that I planned went out the window immediately, and I started to have a shock because I was getting notifications coming up on my phone about things that are not relevant. And I'm trying to think about what I needed to talk about that won't cross over what we're going to discuss. But guys, thanks for sticking with us for the first 8 minutes.
I'm sitting here 15 minutes early thinking I've got everything sorted, and then all of a sudden the microphone's not working.
It's always the way. Dan, let's get straight to it, because these people have been through 8 minutes of me rambling. And normally I can do a stream on my own, but it wasn't prepared, and I kind of wasn't sure what to talk about because a lot of the stuff I've got on my agenda with you. And my agenda tonight is the Frank Lampard press conference, looking at Everton's formation and tactics, a slight reflection on the past games for both us and West Ham, predictions, and of course, looking at the transfer market. So Dan, does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I'm ready. I've done my research and ready to talk to the people in the comments and talk to you, see where we're at.
It's a privilege to have you on. Dan, Frank Lampard's press conference today. Yes, he announced, I mean, just trivia really, but Townsend is back in light training, as is James Garner. Neither of them will be available for this fixture. He talked about unity, and he talked about having pressure and that actually being normal. To have pressure. He's always had pressure in his career. He's always had pressure as a manager. And so he's used to it. He talks about actually coming in to Everton last season. It was effectively a very similar position as they are now, i.e. at the bottom of the league, fighting relegation. I actually think we're in a worse position now, Dan, if I'm honest with you. And I don't agree with Lampard. I think we were slipping down, but we weren't quite 19th in the league. And the difference between us and them was that I think we had the better quality players in Richarlison available. Dele Alli was coming in. And I don't see it now in the same position. I'm actually, as Kevin Kraft is saying, I can't watch Frankie discuss me. Did you find the press conference a difficult watch? Because I personally thought it was quite difficult to hear him say stuff about the fans, and whatnot, and on everything really.
There's goods and bads I got from the press conference. I think he was very snappy. Obviously, having that job, you probably would be snappy because it's a hard job. But I think he's very snappy with the press when they was asking questions, which they've got to ask. They've got to ask like questions that ask about the transfer window, because fact is we do need players, and they've got to ask about what's happening with the board and the owner, because that's affecting the transfer window, and it's all linked together. So, but he was quite snappy for me on the questions. I mean, one thing I will say that I thought was good by him is that he said in the press conference, like, he didn't turn on the fans, if you know what I mean, because when they asked him about the fans confronting the players, he said, like, you get it sometimes, it shouldn't happen. But he didn't paint a bad picture on the fans, which I thought was good. He kind of took it away, and he handled that quite well. And
but Dan,
I think that was important.
You know, when an Everton manager loses the fans, that's normally the last thing that they burn that bridge. And I think if Frank Lampard had come out and said other things, I think he would lose a lot of the last remaining supporters of him. And there are still supporters of Frank Lampard. There are a lot of people who are very defensive of him, very Frank Lampard apologists, some would say. But the reality for me is, Dan, he's not performed very well with the group this year or last year. He's massively underachieved, even with the fact that he has been shortchanged. I would still expect a team full of international players or with international experience to not, put out performances like they have been doing over the period. It's not as if it's been over 3 games. This has been 21 games this season, including the cup fixtures, and probably a similar amount last season. So it's good for him that he didn't slate the fans. I think that wouldn't have ended up very well for him. But I didn't really enjoy the rest of the stuff he's coming out with.
I didn't enjoy. That's what I say. I didn't enjoy. I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying that he did say it happens with all fans, and it kind of took the attention off our fans getting a bad name, which I wanted to happen, because he's, like he said, it happens at every club. So fans approach players sometimes when things ain't going well. I just didn't want our fans getting more toxic and more of a bad name, and I think him putting an end to that is definitely good. It's definitely good for us, because I think we've, like the situation or not, stressed or not, we've got to unite again somehow. The fans have got to unite, because.
But why should we? Why are we being asked to give these players a hero's welcome when they've let us down year after year? I mean, this is too much for the club to expect and demand off us as fans. At some point, the board have got to take responsibility. The owner's got to take responsibility, and the manager and the players. You can't expect me to start standing outside Goodison Park waving flags and banners and cheering these on when they've let me down and drained me and sucked the bloody life out of me for year after year and month after month. And that point, Dan, because, you're in the similar position, although you don't get to the game as much as you want. You're a diehard Evertonian. You must find it difficult to gear yourself up, even as Mr. Positive, given how you must feel you've been treated as a fan. We've been shortchanged massively.
Well, for me, if you would have spoke to me a couple of days ago after the game, I would have sounded a lot different, because I was fuming, as people said on the channel. This guy's fuming, but as the days go on, my head mellows out, and I just think to myself, yes, things are shit, but when things are shit, you still got to keep your head screwed on and do the right things. Feeling sorry for yourself is going to affect what we're going to do to stay up.
But realistically, the only people who've got control over the situation, if you forget about the board now, the board can't control what's going on the pitch right now, aside from the fact they get rid of.
That's my point. Yeah.
The only people right now, if you forget about the board, you forget about recruitment, because honestly, hand on heart, I don't expect any signings of note. The only people who can have a real, genuine influence are the players and the manager. 100%. And I have got no confidence in the manager now, with the greatest of respect to him, because what we are seeing is a very limited tactical approach. I have seen our setup against Southampton and Wolves when we've been chasing a game, and we lose all midfield. We have a very, very blasé approach to it. Frank Lampard has said himself in some games it's not a tactical game. Every game is a tactical game. We should be fighting for the small tactical margins, because ultimately the squad and the players aren't good enough on paper and in practice to outplay teams out of this position. So we've got to have some advantage somewhere, Dan. Some kind of tactical advantage to beat teams. Now, West Ham is another team where on paper you'd expect us to get absolutely slaughtered, because from 1 to 11, I think they've got a solid squad. I don't know what's happened there. But, we've got to find an edge to beat them, Dan. And Lampard's not coming across like he knows how to get that across.
I think the same thing. I'm not confident in the manager, and I think a manager change would definitely help. But if we are to still have this manager the next couple of games, which it looks very likely, Ryan, because Moshiri has come out and backed him, and Lampard in the interview says he's in contact with Moshiri and the board, it doesn't look like he's going to get sacked this game. So
No.
we've got to just kind of say to ourselves once again, like you say, we can't change the board yet. We can't change the owner yet. I don't think we can change the manager yet either. I think we've just got to stick with him. But one thing I will say is that the manager is a big part. His tactics is massive in football. The manager's role is massive. But these players, they're grown men. They've got to, in the training sessions, they've got to come together now. And they've got to do it themselves a little bit as well, because obviously Lampard, what he sets them out to do is a big thing, but some things that these players are getting wrong are basic, and I think it's down to the players as well, Ryan.
Yeah, the players are also clearly not very well coached, and they're clearly not comfortable in the style, and they're clearly not implementing whatever they've been told to do. If it is right, then they're not being told to do it. And the only euphemism I can give is, like, obviously you and your suits, you've sold suits in the past. It's like me asking you to now start selling ladies' dresses, or for me to start singing female songs that don't suit me. And that's how I feel like when we're putting these demands on these players. Yes, you could have a go, but really we can't sit here and expect Anthony Gordon to start scoring 15 goals this season after, only scoring a couple last year. And this is the pressure and the expectation that we've piled on these players, and this manager has had to pile on these players because he's been underfunded and under-supported. Even Carlo Ancelotti said after he left that, he was promised certain things and he wasn't given them. And, it's a shit show, Dan.
I was thinking the other day, like I say, this is my chill brain. I don't think these players want to go down. I know we say they don't give a shit.
Well, no one wants to get relegated.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that. I think they will. They do want to try, but the confidence is massively low. And we've just got to get behind them. Like you've just said, some of them, we're expecting a lot from them, and they're just not always going to be what you expect. We expect what we need, but they're not always going to be that, because let's face it, this squad isn't the best squad, but you've still got to fight to stay in the league, whether it is or isn't. And that's why I want to change things, Ryan. Like, my mentality now is we've got to get behind these players, whether you like them or not, because fact is, if you're saying the shit, they're going to need boosting back up, because they don't want to be shit. They don't want to be like that. It's like us saying, the player has a bad game. Oh, he's shit. But he needs boosting up. If he is doing crap, you've got to lift him back up, because these are the players that we're going to have, Ryan, no matter what. And us fans at the minute, we're so stressed. We're not going to help our own team. I mean, you've seen it in the media now, and we'll move on to this in a minute, about the transfer window. They're saying now in the media that a lot of players don't want to come to us because it's not a nice place at the minute, and it really isn't a nice place.
That's the environment that they've created by starving us of anything of note. That's their own fault. They can't pin that on the fans. We've got a right to be aggrieved. If you kept going to McDonald's, Dan, and every single time you ordered a McDonald's burger and chips, they forgot to put your chips in the bag, you'd be fucking fuming. And if that happened every single time, you'd feel aggrieved and annoyed, and you'd probably be kicking off at the staff for doing it.
This is
a 1,000 different.
I 100% agree with you. I'm not saying we don't. I think we've got to put our thoughts out or stress out. But I think over the transfer, I think this is where we've got to be clever. I think over the transfer window, we've just got to cool it down a little bit, because it doesn't advertise our club that well. I think then when the transfer windows, this is just a bad time for all this to be happening. If it happened at the start of the season, fair enough. But I'm just saying over the transfer window, it isn't appetizing for players.
This is happening though because we're getting it all. We're getting fed up. I wouldn't be sat here now getting as stressed if I could see that we'd signed Danny Ings today. I know some people don't agree with that, but Danny Ings going to West Ham highlights the problems we've got. He would walk into our team as probably one of the first players on the team sheet, and he would score goals for us. He creates goals out of half chances, and he's a finisher. And it's because fans are sitting there and watching all the other teams do things, and it's the idle approach and the passive nature of everything we're doing as a club, whether that's management or players or recruitment, that is winding the fans up. So yeah, it's bad timing, but for the for the club to and the media to say, it's because of the circus.
What I'm trying to say to you though is, yes, we are frustrated. And yes, we have got a right to be frustrated, but it's going to bite ourselves in the arse because the thing that will keep us up is players coming to us. And I know for a fact all players are on social media now. And when players when players see like players getting approached and stuff, it could be an off-put though, couldn't it, Ryan? If you think of it as a neutral, like if a player's coming to Everton now, he looks at things and he thinks, I'm going into a toxic fan base and I'm going to a club where on my way home I might get freaking coned off. It doesn't look good. It doesn't. That's what I'm saying, Ryan. It doesn't look good. We need to have a head switched on.
Well, that's a few idiots.
Because we're not getting the players that we want.
It's a few idiots approaching the fans. I don't agree with that. But also, Dan, you've got to remember we're then going for the likes of Danny Ings and we're offering a loan deal to Villa, where you've got West Ham offering a permanent deal. So we can't compete with it. We can't compete. And they're asking a lot of the fans. They're asking a lot of the players we've got. And you've got to have some leadership. I know this is the preview for the West Ham, but it's a bigger, wider thing going on with the club at the moment.
There's a lot to talk about.
It becomes difficult. And from my perspective, we need change. I personally don't think it will make much difference if we change the board at the moment because it's still going to be Moshiri making decisions which have been bad overall over the course of his tenure. Generally, they haven't been great decisions. What good would it be getting rid of all of the board and asking Farhad to get more people in? He's chose to bring in the likes of Kevin Thelwell as well. I'm not sure the trust is there. I would love a new owner at the club. I would love to see that, but ultimately that 100%. Would never happen. That's not going to happen mid-season in January and have an impact to get players in. But financial fair play is a complete mess. You've got Chelsea spending 500 million in a year. It's a scary sight, Dan. And if you strip away, so if we just say now we're going to strip away all of this drama around the club and say, well, yeah, we need new owners or we need a new board or we need a new manager. We have to look at this game objectively, and we're playing West Ham. How can we get 3 points against West Ham? Do you, this is a question, and I don't know, and people in the comments drop it. I would read your comments out, but we've got so much to say, but we are reading them as we go. Reading everything.
Yeah, we're reading them as we go. Answering the comments as well. Do you think because we've dished all this money out for a stadium, it's affected our transfer window?
It must do, because Tottenham Hotspur had a similar problem.
Well,
and Arsenal had a similar issue as well. But
exactly, that's my point. And the thing is, though,
you've allowed some losses related to the stadium, may I say?
All I'm going to say to you, though, Ryan, is after this, a lot of people saying in the comments, Danny Ings. It's a big topic. Obviously, you've just mentioned it. For us not to, Lampard clearly wanted Danny Ings.
Yeah.
For us not to sign him for 15 million, we haven't got money. We haven't got money. We're playing around with pennies. We really are. Because Lampard made it. You couldn't tell any more that Lampard was so frustrated that he said Danny Ings is amazing. I like him. He couldn't have put out more that he wanted that player.
Danny Ings,
yeah. But we haven't got the money. That's the problem.
It wasn't that much money. And
15 million want it.
That badly managed now and badly run as a football club, where we haven't got 15 million to spend on a player. I am deeply concerned. Where is all the money going? They're still getting the TV revenues. They've cut the wage bill massively. There should be money to invest and to amortize across the contracts over future years without having such big losses all in one season. The whole thing stinks and is a mess. I could sit and talk to you till the cows come home about all of this, Dan, but really, we've got to focus on this game.
Yeah, there's only so much we can say on the stadium. We've hit it a little bit because I feel we always have to, because it's a massive topic at the minute. But obviously, we'll go on to the transfers now. We said we're going to talk about transfers and then we'll move on to the game. So we'll quickly go through every transfer, Ryan. I presume you know roughly what's about, because people in the comments have been mentioning the transfers. What?
Yeah, okay. If you want to talk about transfers before the preview bit, then that's fine.
Yeah, I just think just say, well, who would you want? Yes or no? That's it.
Well, Dan Jammer have been linked from Villarreal. I don't think he's going to come to us. I think he's been around all these clubs. You've mentioned this lad, haven't you?
The one from Rennes, I do like. The lad from Rennes. A lot of people have said he's really good. The winger, really good. I do like him. The one from Rennes. It's still going around now. That couple of big articles was on him today. So he's a possibility. Fast winger, can take players on. I'd be game for him. Dan Juma, like you say, very, very. it's there, but will he pick Bournemouth? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. What did you say about Zapata, whatever his name is, striker?
Atalanta striker Zapata, and he's got a
Do
good.
you like him?
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast forward. You know, he's very highly
Lukaku style.
proven. Yeah, I don't think he's quite got the pace of Lukaku, but he's certainly got the physique and the hold-up play that you want, and he could adequately replace Calvert-Lewin. He's got a big reputation in the past. Unfortunately, with Zapata, he's a player that hasn't scored any real goals this season. He's got a couple. And
What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on? I'm trying to cover them all now with you because you got it in your head. Antonio. What's your thoughts on Antonio? We'll just cover them all because people in the comments were putting out in the news.
West Ham want rid of him. Antonio, not
interested or not,
on big money, and they've brought in Danny Ings, a change of style. They don't want the counter-attacking Antonio. They want the finisher in Danny Ings. I understand that. I probably wouldn't prioritise Antonio. If someone said, we could get Moussa Dembele at Lyon, and
that's another.
Zapata at Atalanta, and stick the two of them up front in a 4-4-2, I've got far more confidence that we're actually going to score goals in this run. I'd be confident we'd score goals. The problem is then we don't really have a supply line. I think we need a winger who can cross the ball. Now, very quickly, teams in the past who have struggled at the bottom of the league and don't have the playmaking ability, we don't have that. They don't have the crossing players who can cross the ball. We don't have that. They find another way to win. They look for small margins, as we talked about tactically. Okay. Set pieces. We have a very tall midfielder in Onana. We have a very tall centre-back in Yerry Mina. We've got players who are good in the box, in and around the box, Calvert-Lewin, Connor Cody. Look to try and take advantage of set pieces. Look for the small areas where we can be better than opposition teams in. Yes, we can't cross the ball so well, but we have to find something we can be good at. Now, Frank Lampard cried out the whole of the summer, I need players with legs. I need more central defenders. I need midfielders who can defend. We didn't have a defensive midfielder last season. Alan was bypassed all the time. Andre Gomez was bypassed all the time. We had two centre-backs in Mason Holgate and Michael Keane, who were making mistake after mistake after mistake week in, week out. We called for them to be replaced. We replaced them. We brought in Connor Cody and James Tarkowski. We said we have no engine room in midfield. We brought in Onana and Idrissa Gueye to shore up shop. There's no excuse, really, for us to be conceding the amount of goals we've been conceding. It's inexplicable. And I don't know why this is happening, but you've got the quadrant there to say, I've got four players in that midfield who are going to, they are the rock of the team. They are going to stop the counter-attacks. They are going to stop the attacks in the box and protect the box. Okay. The problem is then you're looking for attack from other areas, Dan, and you want that to come from your fullbacks. But we've got Michaelenko at left back and Coleman at right back. You've got two of the worst fullbacks in the league at the moment. Two of the worst attacking fullbacks. And so you don't have that impetus coming from fullback. So you're looking to then get your midfielders to do more. And that's why he's got Garner running forward. He's got Onana trying to break through the lines. And that's fine. But you can't rely on these players like Idrissa Gueye to suddenly become a number 10. He's not. But for me, Dan, there's no excuse for us to be conceding as many goals as we're doing when you've got two defensive fullbacks and a quadrant of four in that midfield and centre-back that he'd cried out for. He's got the players in there to shut up shop as a bare minimum. If we can't score goals, then I understand that. We can nick a goal. We've got to find a way of nicking a goal. We're never going to score 2, 3, 4 goals in a game because we haven't got the strikers. We haven't got the creativity. We haven't got the playmakers. But there's no excuse to be conceding 2, 3, 4 every week.
I think when you look at most goals, if you think back to them, we've been out of position quite a lot. I don't think we've been sat back in a good defensive position. So I think we've been caught out. Well, I think it's Lampard's tactics. That's the structure of the team. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just said there's got to be a reason. Well, I think the reason that a lot of teams have scored against us is because we've kind of put ourselves in a hole. We've attacked and we haven't had that number 6 that's dropped in, or we've lost the ball when we shouldn't have lost the ball in a dangerous position. And it seems to be of our own fault. It doesn't seem that they've done something amazing to score against us, Ryan. That's the thing. Dan. So I think like you say, a lot of it is on the way we're set up, in my opinion.
Yeah, because on paper, we've got a very, very good defensive midfielder in Idrissa Gueye, a very good defensive midfielder in Onana. I think he tackles amazing. He covers the ground so well. I think he should be doing more going forward. He had his best game against Southampton because he actually drove with the ball and looked in control of everything.
I want to see more from those two in the field and the defenders taking more control and showing more leadership. Dan, I was just wondering whether you could go through the comments for 5 minutes while I have my dinner, and then we're going to get on to the West Ham game in great detail. Would that be okay?
Well, have a go, yeah.
Okay.
Right, drop your comments now. See what you've got to say, and I'll read them out now on the comments and stuff. Just we'll hit transfers while Ryan's gone. What do you think on transfers? Because that's the topic I'm going to talk about. I like to talk about transfers, even though it's Everton. I was just going to say another transfer that's been linked. Drop your comments on this. Wood from Newcastle. Now, I'm not saying I want him. I'm just saying what the news has been. It says that Newcastle are interested. I think it's either loan or sell Wood. And would you be interested in Wood? I'm going to read your comments on that, and then we'll keep on going on that. But another one as well that I've seen. Yeah, here we go. Comments. Just keep dropping your comments now, because you always say you want me to read them out. So drop your comments, and we'll have a little patch where I read them out now. He's gone to Forest. That's what Dave West. I did hear that the rumour was between us and Forest. So I don't know whether I didn't know that had been confirmed. I don't know. But fair enough. I'll have to look that one up, whether he has gone to Forest. Did we recall Anyanga? Yes, we have. And it's another topic that I could talk about, because why? I don't know. I really don't know. I was thinking to myself when I read this, why have we called him back from Burton?
We're loaning him back out.
Why?
His loan spell at Burton didn't go very well.
Oh, that's good. Good news. Yeah, that's the reason. We'll update you. We're like live Sky Sports here. But here's another comment from the Blues. Peter the manager isn't 70 yards. Newcastle have agreed a loan deal with Forest. So, yeah, that is that one on him. Another thing as well, topic that I was going to hit now is, and this is the big topic, and it's been the topic for a long time. Do you want Moyes? West Ham comment here, and he's not come on giving us grief, so we don't mind people from other teams if they come on and ain't an idiot. So West Ham, do we want David Moyes? Well, the big rumour is at the minute, and obviously you in the comments, Everton fans, you've heard it, is that if David Moyes loses against us, we'll get David Moyes as manager. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. Do we want David Moyes? I think it's a 50-50 for most, like a divide in the fans, that one. A lot would say no, and a lot would say yes. Yeah. I'm making him interested. He wants to come back in. I don't know because
he's the only manager we've had in 10 years who's actually been willing to stay when things got big. Okay, he went for Man U, but we had no money at the time. But he's the only one who had a plan, who built something and evolved a strategy over time.
The thing is, though, West Ham fans have got two situations here. They've got a David Moyes that come in when they was near the bottom like us and got them up the table and got them Europa League. As an Everton fan, would I love that right now? That would be a dream, because I don't expect that at all. Like, I just want to stay up. So as an Everton fan, if he come and did what he did with West Ham when he come and got them out of the crap and moved them up the table, Europa League, would I want that? Would I want that, David Moyes? Yes, I would. But on the other hand, David Moyes has got some cracking players in that West Ham team now, and he's not getting a tone out of them. Now, I don't know what's going on at West Ham, because to have that many players like they've got and it not working, I can't see it all being David Moyes' fault. I really can't. So that's me done on the David Moyes topic. He could come and do what he did to get you out of the relegation zone, or he could come in and make things even worse. So we're not sure as fans. I really don't know. On that one, I'm not sure. I was just this is the big one as well now. I'm reading your comments out as we go. This is a big one. I know you'll all want to talk about this in the comments. Anthony Gordon, Newcastle, again, says they're interested. Now, I can see Newcastle being interested in Anthony Gordon, because we're in a bit of rubbish. Gordon's young. He might be better in a team like Newcastle, and he might like the move, and he probably does want the move, and I think Newcastle would like him. I do believe Newcastle would put a bid in for Anthony Gordon. I don't know whether it's the amount that they're saying, but if the deal was right, this could be all speculation, by the way, because we've seen so many Gordon rumours. I know the fans, here we go, Newcastle fans don't want him, but I think Newcastle do want him, though. That's the thing. Whether the fans want him or not, a lot of teams, I don't think it's a surprise that a lot of teams are coming in for Gordon. And I know he's not playing well for us, but they obviously like his age. I think that they can get a freaking tone out of him. So I don't know what's going to happen with this Gordon situation. If we could sell him for the right amount and bring players in, I would. But I don't know what's going to happen with that one. I really don't. Keep popping your comments up. So keep commenting and I'll pop your comments up. Good luck. So, good for that. See, people come on live from other teams. I do not mind. There we go. What do you really think of? What do you think on that one, Ryan? I don't know. David Moyes, I tell you something, he has got a plan. He has got a plan. David Moyes has, and I don't know. I don't know what I want with Everton at the minute.
Look, Moyes was my idol growing up. You know, I'm nearly 30 and I haven't lived to watch us be successful. But David Moyes, with money, we always wanted a David Moyes with money because I think in our prime, we were 1 or 2 players away from being a really, really top contender for the top 4 and beyond. Honestly, we were always around 5th or 6th or thereabouts. Sometimes we didn't buy a player for 2 years. So he proved that he could do it even without recruitment and find a way to get deals done. Now, the league has moved on. Everyone's got money. Everyone's got a billionaire owner. So you have to, again, look for fine margins. We've got to get the players earlier. Mudryk was a player who's just gone to Chelsea, but we tried to sign him in the summer. And we've got to continue in that vein and try and bring in players before they get too big and too out of our reach and actually have the cash to try and entice someone before that. And Moyes was an expert in actually identifying players exactly in that mould. Players that hadn't quite been established at the very top or who'd been out of favour elsewhere, but with huge potential. Lescott, Arteta, Cahill, Pienaar, Fellaini, Jagielka, Distan, Bain. I mean, the team was the best Everton team that I can recall, apart from the 13-14 season with Lukaku, Stones and Barkley. But, you know, these players that David Moyes had and that team he built was brilliant. And if someone had said to me, we're going to... Because at the moment, we can't even be boring and average. We are literally the runt of the league. And Rafa Benitez was brought in to be safe, to be average, to be boring, to get us into the new stadium, to try and continue what Ancelotti did in a way. But I think maybe that's not quite right. But Moyes would bring stability and he would have a plan in long term in place. He's got unfinished business. He knows the club. He knows the fans. He knows what's here. And I think in the short term, he'd keep us safe. And in the long term, he'd try and implement something and build a proper Everton again. But this time, hopefully, by the time he gets to the point where we can, you know, compete or do anything, he'll have a bit of money to spend eventually. So I would rather have David Moyes instead of Lampard. I know people won't agree with me, but I think Lampard's a coach with no pedigree, with no reputation in management. If he hadn't had a football career, we'd all be saying, why the hell is this guy a manager for Everton? At the moment, we're giving him sort of job experience, and we can't afford to give a manager job experience. David Moyes at West Ham, if he was available, and someone said to me, Ryan, could you swap them like for like now? I probably would. Dan, you remember under Moyes, we'd play mainly a 4-5-1. We'd have a lot of movement and interchange from midfield. We'd have a lot of triangles out wide and find very good patterns of play. And we'd cross the ball well into the box. And we'd have runners from midfield. We played quite a high line at times to suffocate teams at home. We don't do any of this type of stuff now, and that's what I think an Everton team is.
Was it that we had better players back then? Obviously, the players were a lot different. Moyes, yeah, he did hit jackpot with it. He had a really good team. This is a lot different team to what he had then.
He scouted well, and he coached them, and he didn't take any shit. Now, I know Lampard won't publicly castrate any players, but is he doing that behind the scenes? Or is he just saying, well, look, I haven't got the tools. I can't compete. I haven't got the players here. I haven't got the forwards. So I'm just going to try and keep them on side. I'm going to try and keep them motivated. Because if I go in too hard on this lot, you know, we're going to fuck it up. So
A lot of people didn't like David Moyes' football. It wasn't attractive. And I think that's the reason a lot of people won't want him back, because they think once you bring Moyes in, our future football isn't nice. But I think with the situation we're in at the minute, I don't care what football we play. I just want to stay up. And you've got to deal with your situation. And if Moyes come in and keeps us up, then I'm happy, because at the minute we could be going down, and we've got to deal with that situation. You don't need to think too far into the future, because you could have like 3-4 managers in the future. It could change as soon as the new stadium's put up. New owners could come in and sack Moyes if we got him, or sack whatever manager comes in. That's probably what will happen. Now
is a bit similar to Moyes, where we're looking to get players on loan. We're looking for freebies. We're looking for good deals in the middle of nowhere. You know, we're not signing players from the Championship, but we're signing Championship players.
The thing is, though, I agree with you, but this comment here, obviously one of our regulars, we're not going to stay up. I'm not going to say we're going down. And that's not because I'm deluded or being. I just, until we're down, I'm not going to say we're going down. I'm not going to say that.
The league has moved on, Dan. The standard of the league and the caliber of manager and player across all 20 clubs has gone up.
I think
statistically the worst manager in the league, and we've got statistically, one of the worst squads. If you look at the pedigree of players, I mean, I said before the season started, look at Iwobi, McNeil, Gray. Look at the goal record of these players. You can't honestly expect them to suddenly be miles.
No, I don't. It's not. It's the way I'll explain it to you is right. First of all, my team, with how much I love them, I'm never saying they're down before they've gone down. I'll never do that, because the league's still there. By the way, but I will say now is that I know how bad we are. Trust me. I'm not saying we're good. I'm not saying we won't go down because I think we're good. I've always got that fight in me where I want Everton to stay up. Now, even if I thought Everton are shit, will I still watch the next game and hope that we win? Yes. So I'll always have that hope that it will change, Ryan, because this is my fucking club and I want them to stay in the Premier League. I will always hope. So I'll watch them and I'll hope we win. Yes, do I think we could lose? Yes. But I'll watch everything. It's going to be hard. I know we're shit and I know it's going to be awful this second half of the season. But do I still hope we stay up? Because I want Everton to stay up? Yes, I've got that hope in me. And that's how I explain it. So that's why I say we're not going to go down, because I've just still got that hope into me. And I'm not, if all of our fans at the stadium saying we're down, it's not, even if you think it, I don't think say it, because it's the wrong attitude.
It's just the way we're resigned to it. A lot of
I don't want it though. I don't want to go down. I'm not deluded. I know we can, but I just don't want it.
I personally think we're relegated.
Yeah, if we keep going like we are, we will be relegated. But we've just said now, Ryan, we want to bring in 2 free players, and I also think a manager change, like you say, would massively help. There's so many things that can happen, and I'm sure probably a lot of other teams are scared as well. That are near the bottom, they're scared as well. You just got to stay in it and do your best.
But there's no goals in this squad at all. There's no one, because
if we're in the listen to this now though. If we're in the Championship next season, we will do anything to be back in the Premier League. And we've got all those games to play in the Championship that's so hard. And it will be rock solid, by the way, because everyone will turn up against Everton, because everyone will try and keep us in that Championship. Every game will be a sellout against us. And in that Championship, people that think we'll just bounce straight back up, don't think that, because we don't know what would happen down there. People would make sure we stay down in the Championship. But what I'm saying is, if you was in the Championship, you'd be like, oh, I want to be in the Premier League so bad. So while we are in the Premier League, Ryan, you've just still fight.
And expecting. You're hoping and praying that will stay up, but the expectation, I want that as well. But my expectation now is a resignation of the fact that this team doesn't really keep clean sheets. This manager isn't very good. There's no sign of players incoming, and we don't score any goals. And all of those things as a combination is a recipe for relegation.
I do think like a striker would, a couple like you've just said, if you go and sign 2 strikers now and put them up top, I think it gives you a good chance of staying up. It really does, because that's what we've lacked. Because if you actually, I know the statistics, Ryan, that we've lost this, lost that, lost. The statistics are really bad because the statistics are the worst they've ever been at Everton. But if you actually think back to every game, there hasn't been much in it. There was a patch where we were 7 undefeated. There hasn't been much in the games, and I think if we would have had the attacking players, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now. Because we're down, we're massively depressed, so we'll just be like, oh, we've got nothing. But when we played against Man U in the Cup, we wasn't awful. We should have drew 2-2 that game. When we played against Man City, we was all right. When we played against a couple of games this season that we've won, with Crystal Palace, I just think we've got to try and be positive.
25 games this season, we've lost all but 3. Sorry, that's not correct. We've drawn some games. We've won 3 in 21 out of both cup competitions in the first round and 19th in the league. We concede more chances than any other team in the league. We're conceding a lot of goals. The style of football is disgusting. And offensively, we haven't got the squad, the strength and depth, or the players in the first 11. And that's why I sit here and I am negative. And you're right, we did play okay against Man U for spells, but we were bummed most of the time in that match. And we never looked like scoring for about 75 minutes. So we've been second best in nearly all the games this season. Apart from Crystal Palace at home, I can't recall any time we've completely dominated and controlled a game of football.
We've been battered. We've been battered. Only just lately we've started getting battered. But if you go through most games, Ryan, this season, Chelsea, when we watched it the first game, we lost 1-0. We could have drew that. There's been loads of games that we've been in this season where teams have come back and drew 1-1. I think we've been in a lot of games this season. Now, if you're in a game, then you've got a chance. And all I'm saying to you, I'm not saying we're good, and I know it's going to be hard, but I'm saying if you are in a game, if you can get yourself in a game, because I watch so many games, teams win that don't play better than the other team. And it happens loads of times in the Premier League. Anything can happen in the Premier League. And like I say, I don't think we are massively odds on to go down, but I just think we've got to try and set ourselves up the best we can be. Even if it's crap football, Ryan, just play whatever football it takes. Like you say, go simple, loft it up to your strikers and try and stay up, yeah.
For this West Ham game, obviously, we've got 10 more minutes. How do we approach this game? Because West Ham have got big players. Danny Ings will be on the bench, probably.
Danny Ings. That's what everyone's talking about. Guaranteed to get a goal, Danny Ings.
Souček, Rice, Zuma. They've got good players, 1 to 11. What can we do to cause West Ham problems?
It's a hard game, isn't it? West Ham's the team that I think have got some cracking players, and I think they're massively underperforming. And it's a game where this could be the freaking game that they start performing. They've got some cracking players. They have got some really good players. And where they are in the league, I can't believe, Ryan. What do we need to do? I just think we've got to... I think counter-attack. I do think counter-attack.
So you want to play like we played against Man City and Man U?
I think counter-attack, because West Ham have got some cracking players, but they're not playing well as a team. And that's the thing. So they're like us. They've got some cracking players, but they can't freaking pass it, and they don't play as a team. So just let them have the ball a little bit. Let them make a couple of mistakes and then jump on them. I think that's what you've got to do, and jump on them.
What's your formation then? Because in that system, I'm assuming you're looking at the 5-3-2 with Gray about next to Calvert-Lewin, but then you lose Anthony Gordon, who's one of your ball progressors.
Yeah, I feel we've got to go with the 5, because the big problem is, like you've just said, our wing-backs ain't good enough to play a 4. They're not up and down, and you don't get much from them if you just play it as the 4.
5 either.
No, I just think it makes it easier for them to actually just get forward. I think
get caught out, and then the centre backs get dragged out.
Well, this is where the advantages of having the free centre backs. At least if you get caught out, I'm not being funny. If you get caught out with those wing backs up, you've got Godfrey, Cody, and Tarkowski. They should be good enough to freaking stop getting caught out. It's 3 defenders, speed, and 2 defenders have got loads of experience. They should be able to. And then you're supposed to have a number 6 in front of that as well, Ryan, that's supposed to help those 3 defenders.
And maybe Paul, I'm dropping Ben Godfrey for Yerry Mina for this match.
Yeah, I don't mind Yerry Mina playing. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that they all need to have a big group hug. That's what's going to win you games now, is togetherness and confidence. That is what's going to win you games. Now, we can talk about formations as much as we want, but the players ain't been good enough either. And they need to have do you know where you see Arsenal at the minute? Look at how the group hugs that they're doing at the start of the game, and the togetherness and the spirits. Like, if you've got something to fight for and together, that they look good as a group. Where us at the minute, our players they're separate. They're apart. They're scared to talk to each other. Go on, sorry.
They're a bunch of knobheads.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's what we've got to stay up. I don't particularly like them, but is me not liking them going to freaking get them to do well and keep my team up? No. I need these players to keep us up, Ryan. You've got to get behind them no matter what.
I just want to say here in public, this isn't the same squad that shitted on us. The Cuckoo Martinez and the Niasses and the Schneiderlins and all of them. We got rid of all them and we bought new players. And this isn't the Luca Deans and the Richarlisons and that generation, the Andre Gomez, where we built Marcel Brands had some sort of a plan and we spent a lot of money and it didn't quite work. And this isn't the in-between periods as well. This wasn't last season where we had, no midfield and stuff. We've bought in players. The thing that is, I look at some of these comments. I've got Matty here asking about a 3-5-2. In theory, I like Garner and Onana holding, but the wing-backs getting forward, you're asking Michaelenko to suddenly become a dynamic fullback, wing-back, and he's just not. So this is the thing, your whole attack, it's so imbalanced because you don't have the tools to actually implement any strat. We don't have the players to play any formation. Another one here, Stu is saying about a 4-4-2. Dan, could you play Neil Mopay up front with Calvert-Lewin, Gray and Gordon on the wings, and Onana and Garner, or Onana and Iwobi holding?
I don't think West Ham are that good down the middle in the centre of midfield. I don't think they've got major players in the centre, so you could get away with it.
Lucas and Declan Rice and Souček.
No, it's Souček's. The West Ham, they're not the team that pass it about like frigging really good. Honestly, that's why they are where they are. They're good names, but trust me, if you watch them, they're like us. They're shit in the middle. They can't control games in the middle of midfield. That's the thing. So they ain't that good in the middle of midfield. They ain't even been playing Souček either. They've been playing other players instead because they're not clicking either. They are massively out of form as well. So remember, if we go out at them and get a goal quick, they could crumble because they're in trouble as well. They are in trouble.
You've talked about just counter-attacking them, but really, if we're doing the counter-attack, I'd bring in Yerry Mina for Ben Godfrey because I don't think we need that. We need that someone, if we're playing a bit of a low block, we need the height and control of Yerry Mina, a bit of more composure than Ben Godfrey. But
yeah, that's not a bad shout.
Get forward, and I asked you about Anthony Gordon then. So you want your best counter-attacking and your fastest players, but in that 5-3-2, Gordon hasn't been playing. So change it again. And you're also talking about West Ham being woefully out of form. Well, why don't we go and attack them? Why don't we go and take the initiative there and go and try and play? Or have we tried that and it just doesn't work? So we need to just...
You can't... This is why it's so hard being a manager, because you can't win because you want to go out and attack them because you want to obviously win. But then if you go and do that and they beat us, then you say, oh, we should have defended more and not let them win so easy. It's very hard what to do. I don't know. Sometimes I think sit back and don't let them score easy and make it hard for them. But sometimes I think West Ham, they're not playing well. Because we have scored goals, the first goals in most games. We're quite good at scoring a goal in the first 10 minutes. It's just what we do after it. But I do think if you, like I say, you get a goal against West Ham, their fans will be against them and they'll crumble. They're in trouble as well, like us. They're not happy.
My plan would be to go there to shut up shop quite early, frustrate the crowd, frustrate the fans, get the West Ham fans on the West Ham players back, build a little bit of composure and possession in midfield, and try and get Damari Gray as high up the pitch as possible. I want to see Iwobi do a lot better than he's done in the past 10 games. He's fallen off a cliff. And try and, if Calvert-Lewin's going to play to his strengths. Get players around him when the long ball's there so he's not flicking it onto himself. And get the ball in and around that 6-yard box where he's effective.
Would you play the 4-3-3 or not?
No.
Like,
because the 4-3-3 obviously is
players don't get back. They don't get in position. People get dragged out of position. And I think the best 4-3-3s have narrow full and full-backs that hug that touchline, and a midfield three that could cover across the entire pitch.
Straight. I was just going to say now, my battery's about to die, so we might have to fast forward this onto the.
Yeah, go on then.
So what are we going with? We said what teams we're going to go. We're going score predictions now.
Yeah.
It said 2%. I don't want it just to go up.
Dan, just give us your team, your final team.
I've changed it now. I'm going to go 4-5-1.
4-5-1. Okay.
Yeah.
Team 1 to 11.
Just your basic Mikolenko, Cody, Tarkowski. You could put Mina in there, by the way, with the Tarkowski and Cody thing, but
and put Godfrey
and put Coleman right back.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same, but I'm going to put Ben Godfrey at left back. I'm going to put Connor, Cody, and Yerry Mina. And sorry, we've got so many defenders. There is an argument for Ben Godfrey at left back, but I think he'll stick with the same team. 5-3.
Do you know what though? Here's a quick one for my thing, guys. Would you play Ben Godfrey right back? Because we always say play him left back. Would you play him right back?
Probably not. No.
Instead of Coleman.
You could do. There's a lot of stuff you could do. I appreciate, Dan, you're going to drop out of the stream. If you drop out this time, we're wrapping up in a few moments anyway. Yeah. There's a lot of options there in the defence. He could go with Godfrey left back. He could bring in Yerry Mina. I don't think Connor Cody has played well in the last game. I don't think Tarkowski had a very good game either. I think he was so poor against Brighton and Southampton. So there's an argument that we have to bring in Yerry Mina into this game. Coleman picks himself at right back because there isn't any other options. But as Dan has alluded to, Godfrey could come in at right back. I think the midfield, you have to play Garner. You have to play
itself. Yeah.
So there's 3. And then if you're playing 5 at the back, you can't have Gray and Gordon and Calvert-Lewin. So Gordon is the one that's dropping out. So
no, I'd play Gordon and Gray each side because I don't like McNeil that much. So I'd play Gray and Gordon each side on the 4-5-1.
Dan.
What's that?
You can't do that with 5 at the back. I'm going to say.
No, with the 4-5-1, I mean, with the 4-5-1, Gray and Gordon as wingers, and then just Calvert-Lewin up top. Sorry.
4-5-1 is a good option for me. I could go with McNeil, Gray, and Gordon behind Calvert-Lewin to have a bit of creativity, a left foot in midfield, and a bit of a long shot. And then Onana and Garner as the 2 holding midfielders, Connor Cody and James Tarkowski or Yerry Mina in defence, Ben Godfrey at left back, Seamus Coleman at right back, and just say that's how we're gonna do it. Mikolenko's cost us goals in every single game in the past 4 weeks. You know, every match he's out of position or he's making mistakes or he's not reading it well. So I think he has to make some changes in defence. He's got the options there. You never know. You might see Michael Keane come in. I don't.
There is moves to be made, like you said, Ryan. There's moves to be made. He has got plenty of options. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that always makes me positive. Is last season I couldn't pick our defence and I couldn't pick our midfield. I didn't want any of them in the team. Where they are letting me down, but I still think that there are some combinations that could work. So the defence and the centre midfield is better than last season, and Lampard's got to be getting better out of these than what he is because it should be solid. Onana, Iwobi, and Garner Gay should be solid in that middle. It really should, and our defence shouldn't be as bad as it is. So it's got to get better. It has got to get better. We should be a very hard team to beat with the players that we've got. They're underperforming.
We need to be hard to beat against West Ham. We need to have control in midfield and not get overloaded on the wings. And I think the 4-5-1 will give us that option. Support Calvert-Lewin, get the ball into the box, get players in and around him, and make sure that our midfield track runners and are combative and aggressive, and we can and keep West Ham quiet.
100%.
Okay. There's not much more we can say without, because we don't have. There's not enough about us to start saying, well, I want to bring it in because of this and this and this. But
for me, I just like.
That's Dan gone. Dan's gone. So that's it, guys. We're going to wrap things up. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on the next stream. Thank you.